Romeosaurus and Juliet Rex by Mo O'Hara and illustrated by Andrew Joyner. Never a tale made a child laugh more than Juliet Rex and her Romeosaur. Once upon a time, 150 million years ago, two families, both alike in lizardness, lived in the swampland of Verona. Romeosaurus's family were herbivores. Yay! Ferns for dinner. Yay! Juliet Rex's family were carnivores. Yay! Herbivores for dinner. Yay! You can see why the families didn't really get along. One day, Juliet Rex was stomping through the swampland on her way to the dinosaur ball. "Do my arms look small in this?" she asked her nanny, Nursedactyl. "Of course, dear," Nursedactyl answered. Meanwhile, Romeosaurus was clomping along with his friend Mercutiotops on his way to crash the ball. Now, usually, when a Stegosaurus and a Triceratops crash a ball, you would know it. But this time, they went in disguise because it was a masked ball for carnivores only. The carnivores really knew how to throw a party, and Juliet Rex was waving her tiny arms in the air like she just didn't care when she spotted a dinosaur who she had never seen before. He swished his tail at her to say hello. She thumped her tail back to say hi. I might be casually waving hi, or I might just be swatting a prehistoric bug. Your call. Romeosaurus went over and the two dinos danced. They giggled, they talked, they played, and they started to become friends. "Do you want to get something to eat?" Juliet Rex asked as she led Romeosaurus over to the buffet. "Aunt Gladys?" Romeosaurus gulped. Romeosaurus rushed to help Auntie Gladys off the buffet table and take the apple out of her mouth. "Wait, you're a herbivore?" Juliet Rex asked, taking off Romeosaurus's mask. "And you're a carnivore." Just then a fight broke out at the dinosaur ball. Apparently, Mercutiotops had poked Juliet Rex's cousin, Tybalt Rex, with his horns while dancing. "You'd better go," Juliet Rex said, sneaking Romeosaurus out during the commotion. "Will I see you again?" Romeosaurus looked back and smiled. That night, Juliet Rex looked out from her cliff-top balcony. "Romeosaurus, Romeosaurus, wherefore art thou, Romeosaurus?" "Psst! Down here," Romeosaurus answered. "Stegosauruses aren't very good at climbing. It's the tail, really, and the weight, and the complete lack of claws to grip anything, and—" "There's a stone ramp over there," Juliet Rex interrupted. "Okay, thanks." Once again, they giggled and played and talked and laughed, and they became true friends. "My family would never want me to be friends with you," Juliet Rex said. "I mean, I could never invite you over for dinner. You'd be the main course. My family wouldn't like it either, especially Auntie Gladys," Romeosaurus said, sighing. "Then what can we do?" Juliet Rex wondered. When Nursedactyl woke the next morning, she found that Juliet Rex's bed had not been slept in, and she found a note. "A herbivore is my true friend, so off I go to Swampland's End." Nursedactyl flew down to the herbivore's home and tapped her talon on the door. Auntie Gladys answered, Ah! She screamed and then fainted. Mercutiotops pulled Auntie Gladys out of the way. Nurse Adactyl showed him Juliet Rex's note, and he showed her the note Romeosaurus had left for him. You have always been a friend to me, but a carnivore has set my heart free. Nurse Adactyl made a face. They're not very good at poetry, but they do seem to care a lot about each other, even though they're so different. They have bad poetry in common, I guess, Mercutiotops added. We need to find them. They're headed for the tar pits, and that's dangerous for any dinosaur, herbivore or carnivore. Nurse Adactyl flapped her wings and carried Mercutiotops above the swampland until they reached the tar pits. They could see things floating on the tar. It was Romeosaurus's feathered hat and Juliet Rex's backpack. We're too late, shrieked Nurse Adactyl. We should have let them be friends, Mercutiotops cried. You're right, Nurse Adactyl sobbed. Then maybe they'd both still be alive here. But we are here, Juliet Rex said as she and Romeosaurus came out from behind the boulder. My little dino. Nurse Adactyl gathered Juliet Rex in for a wingy hug. Mercutiotops spluttered. But your hat, the backpack. We were just looking for a big stick to fish them out with when you both showed up, Romeosaurus said. So, can we be friends, Juliet asked. And just to be clear, carnivore friends don't eat other friends, right? Romeosaurus added. I could never eat a true friend of my darling Juliet Rex, Nurse Adactyl said. Then she whispered to Romeosaurus, but if you break her heart, you're in a sandwich by lunchtime. You got it? So it's a deal. Carnivores and herbivores will be friends, Mercutiotops said, and they all shook hands on it. Well, except for Juliet Rex, as hers wouldn't reach, but she nodded in agreement. And they lived happily ever after. Until... See the meteor coming? Because the meteor made all the dinosaurs extinct. Or so they say. So, can we be friends? The end.